Hey, it's Shabes, and welcome to another edition of Anitube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week. In this case, from October 5th to October 11th, 2 days ago. I first want to give a shout out to a friend of mine who has developed a game, an app that you can get on Apple and Android. And this is something that he's been working on for a number of months with a buddy of his. And this was their first game that they've developed. And to learn that from like scratch to beginning to end. And nowadays you can't really just upload onto these platforms without being like a recognized company anymore. So these guys had to go through the whole red tape of becoming a company and like who they are and everything. So it's Trinity Brothers. And their first game is very simple because they were just kind of learning the basics, but Complementary. This is a game where you just tap one button and change it to a different color as these drops kind of keep coming down, and it's very, very simple. I find it really fun, challenging, and cool, and especially the fact that like, you know, they've never made a game like this. It's only $1, and 33% of the proceeds they end up making end up going to a good cause anyway, like not just right to their pockets or anything. So I suggest you trying it out, having some fun with it. It's going to keep developing, like they're going to be putting out updates and stuff of just kind of improving it and getting people's feedback and stuff. And they're super chill, and like it's cool to support a company like that and a group of guys like that. So it's super cool, and yeah. So the link to their website's down below, and you'll be able to link. It's best to be on mobile, right? And then you can like just link to their game, and they have some other games that they're looking to develop later. But it would be good to give it a buy, give it a rating, spread that out. So I wanted to share that with you guys. It's really cool. Complimentary. All right, time for the videos that I thought were not good. No. You can't. Scamboli Reviews. Bad anime. God. So if you're familiar with Scamboli, you did this video on why Evangelion's bad. And when you see a video, if you're familiar with that video and then you see a video you're like this, you're like, oh no. And he does call reference to it, but like it's mostly talking about community reactions and people's how to handle that an anime is bad or something like that. And he doesn't necessarily go out and be like, this show's bad, this show's bad, this show's bad. He does a little bit, but he's generally talking about the aesthetic of if considering something a bad anime and how does it get to that point. You know, this wasn't a terrible video. It wasn't like, again, it's similar to his last entry in the digest. Last time he was in the digest, it's not like terrible, but there's just a lot of weird decisions. For one thing, I couldn't get this out of my head watching this video with his very low energy quips and run-on sentences. The only thing I could think of while listening to this video was just, I'm Demolition D. I'm Demolition D now. It's just so transparent that like he's just taking off of that guy, and it's kind of distracting. Not that it, you know, is a bad thing, I guess, but it's just annoying. And it bleeds into these tangents that he just takes forever to get to the point. He actually lampshades one of that makes his lampshading joke where it's like, it's all right. He says the first point he makes is it's all right to like bad anime. And he's like, oh, finally it took me 5 minutes to get to the point. And I was like, yeah, it did, didn't it? I've been waiting here. He does this thing that I think is interesting to talk about that I think other YouTubers do, where he takes very clearly 3 examples of what he considers a great anime. And in this case, he talks about Made in the Abyss, Space Dandy, and Land of the Lustrous. And he's not the last person to do it in this digest, and I'll talk about them later. But he holds them to this very high standard and is able to describe them and why they're so great. And then he immediately shifts to a different show, and it's like, there's nothing here. There's nothing here. They're bland, you know, he can't describe it. And I feel like there's this, it's a very obvious bias of like selective hearing. It's almost like selective hearing of like, yeah, you can describe one thing and make it sound really great, and another thing that makes it sound not great or shallow or something. And I feel like it's very easy to be disingenuous about that and come off as disingenuous. And it's like, yeah, we know those are your favorite shows, but like, what does that have to do with this other show that, yeah, it's probably really mediocre to not great, you know? Like, but who cares? Who cares if it's not Space Dandy? You should find the next Space Dandy. That's what you should be focusing on. You shouldn't be bemoaning that all these shows exist when there's countless others that you have not experienced. I know you have not experienced that are good, if not better than Space Dandy or your next thing. Because like you're at Land of the Lustrous, Made in Abyss, and Space Dandy are at the top. Can you imagine what else is there? You know, that have been here for like 20, 30, 40 years. And it, you know, that's just kind of where I'm at. And it's I just don't like you to make those comparisons and that sort of thing. Now, full transparency, I've done this myself. My first several videos was me comparing one show and another, and I liked doing that. But I realized it's just not incomparable. It's just incomparable oftentimes, because the shows are trying to do different things, and they're not trying to be one thing or another. Space Dandy is incredibly ambitious, and not in the ways that you're talking about. You didn't even mention that it's episode directed by completely different people, or just it has different goals. You know what I mean? Whereas Cowboy Bebop has completely different goals, and other shows that Shichiro Watanabe's directed, his recent one, Carol and Tuesday, have completely different goals than something with Space Dandy. And, you know, it's just a matter of what you like. But it's just not the right way. I'm not a fan of it personally, even though, I've done it myself, and I don't like doing it so much anymore. What I'm trying to get at is that it can come off as disingenuous to me personally when you're comparing apples, when you're making these grand comparisons, and it's like, come on, you really can't be complaining about parallel to the Death March Rhapsody isn't Space Dandy. Like, what do you? Of course it's not. No one said otherwise. Also, the music is terrible. Okay, so it's a lot of it is video game music and like Undertale or like Zelda music, but it's so garish and kind of loud over his voice, and he uses the same track, like he repeats like the Kakariko track or the Kokiri Forest track like twice, like at different points of the video. And it's little stuff like that the average viewer is not going to give a fuck, obviously. But it just shows me that you don't give a fuck. It's, you know, to me, it's just like, wow, you really made that, you know, as a video creator, as someone who spends so much time making these decisions, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it wasn't a terrible video. I think people could probably break this apart a lot more. I think my problem generally was it was just very unfocused. It just spent a lot of time making tangential quips, and I don't know. It didn't have that much bite to it for me. As much as like the thumbnail and title kind of suggest, like, oh boy, here comes a fucking hot take. It was kind of lukewarm, and that's why it's not that good for me. All right, Professor Otaku D2. I don't know what the D2 is supposed to mean. I think it's just Professor Otaku. Hyperspeed Grandal Anime Dissection. So I'm just kind of pulling this out as something that this guy's done it for a long time. He's one of the first, I think he's one of the first anime YouTubers. At least he's been here for a very long time from what I can remember. But what's strange is that he just hasn't evolved since then. At least Bennett, who has also been here for a while, has at least kind of shifted his style or updated it or just made it kind of feel fresh. But this literally wasn't. I think you could take this video and be like, was this a real upload to like from like 2012? Like, honestly, and the way you can tell that it isn't is maybe one or two like quips and stuff. It's just so dated as an idea. He basically is making this, you know, it's pretty much a Bennett the Sage video where he goes episode by episode describing the plot and how dumb it is and whatever. He's not completely harsh on it. Whatever this OVA is, I don't give a fuck about the OVA, but like, I know if this was an OVA that is as obscure as this one, but one that I've seen and that I would have really liked, I would be pretty fucking upset that he kind of paints it in this really incompetent light. I hate the thumbnail. I have made a thumbnail kind of like this. I haven't made the video for it, but at the very least, it just doesn't look like two MS Paint circles and to dot or anything like that. It's just so insulting to this creation that I think takes way more effort than the video you made. It's just a thing about like treating the stuff with respect while still being able to criticize it. And you can make all the points. I'm not really down in his points, but just, I don't know. It's just so, I'm not a fan of this kind of video, and wanted to highlight it as something as such. And he pretty much makes these videos every time, and it's like I just wanted to mention one and kind of move on afterwards. I don't know if I'm gonna make more talking about it, but it's pretty much the same every way. I'm not a fan, but if you get enjoyment out of it, like people were talking about, like my talk about Kenny's video, they're like, no, I thought it was funny and informative and stuff, and I'm like, that's fair. I will mention the one thing that he mentions here that really rubbed me the wrong way, was that he said at one point that the only I'm paraphrasing, but the only redeemable thing about this OVA is the story I get to tell about it. And the story he tells at the beginning of towards the beginning of this video, he's like, I have a funny story that my anime club likes to show me to see if I've seen or heard of this random anime and stuff, and see if I know about it. And I think a lot of us veterans kind of have had that experience. And they're like, I bet you haven't seen this. And he's like, oh, great, an excuse to get this off my hard drive. And that's the story. That is the only thing the only thing that makes this entire 3-episode OVA worth it. It's shit like that. I'm like, no. Fuck you. I don't know what's up with my stand today, man. It's just not doing it for me. It's not working. Mother's Basement. Dan Matry is not an SAO clone. All right, so I think it could very easily put this in not good just for the sake of who the hell is making this argument? And he actually spends several minutes in the beginning and towards the end justifying the existence of this video. Of like, look, I had to get this off I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I thought it was kind of a good idea with, SAO 3 Part 2 is coming out this season, and Dan Matry just wrapped up airing, or is still airing, I don't remember. He's like, yeah, I have the justification. And he's like, either I sit on this idea and it bothers me, or I make the video now while it's topical. It's like, well, I either I make it now or I'll never make it. And that was the attitude he was coming across. And it's like, what? And he's like, yeah, nobody makes this argument anymore, but I just wanted to talk about it. And yeah, here's another example, the example I was talking about with Scamboli, where he can't get over his bias against SAO. He hates this show. Fucking hates it. Barely gives it any credit. He says it has better visuals and sound, but like always gives it the shorter end of the stick. And I'm not trying to be like an SAO defender or anything. I hated that show. It's the same idea of like yes-manning to every decision Dan Matry makes, down to like why every woman has the hots for him. He justifies that, and then like says like SAO, it's the same thing every time, and it's like there's got to be more nuanced. I'm pretty sure there was differences with each of these characters, and each of the characters in his harem do at least have some differences of personality, albeit very subtle and don't ultimately matter. It's really saying yes, 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 yes to every decision and no, no, no to every SAO decision to really make it be like, look, they're not the same. Instead of, it's more of an argument of, no, Dan Matry's better than SAO and here's why. And like, who cares, dude? Who cares? No one who watches SAO cares, and no one who watches Dan Matry cares, and no one who watches both of them care. Maybe the people who watch both of them care because they're really debating in their head. But I don't know many people who are in that position right now. It's just such a superfluous video. And I get that's something he had to get off his chest. And there's merit to making something like that based on something you want to talk about. And fine. But I don't know. The way he could have sold it, the way he went about it, I think, is very transparently, no, Dan Matry's better than SAO and here's why, instead of they're not the same. Like, I feel like he glossed over a lot of the reasons that actually make it different. Yeah, and it because I think he was really trying to make it a different video. Because he starts it with like, yeah, a lot of people say one's an isekai and one isn't. And he's like, it's not just that. And it's like, it's a lot that. None of the vids I thought were decent. Decent! And I thought we'd start with decent, with a similar video on again on Danmachi, of a video that I thought was a good video on Danmachi. And that was Ginkotaku's Danmachi Makes Me Care About Game Mechanics. Now, I don't care that much about Danmachi, but I just want to talk more about Ginkotaku's approach here. Now, obviously, he's only made like a handful of videos. He only just started. And full transparency, he's also a patron of mine. So like, I could be going, you could see me going easy on him or something. But I'm really giving it like, yeah. This was, I really liked the mood you set here. The atmosphere sonically that he creates is really comforting. And then he's like, hey, this is something I found cool. And I'm not going to try to make any sudden digs at anything or anything. And he's also very transparent at the beginning, like, yeah, and as Danmachi's not one of my favorites, but it's one thing I can begrudgingly say, like, this is really good. And he's like, I wish there was other media that does this. So he's talking about like the leveling system in Danmachi, particularly with the main character. He learns skills that are building his character in terms of personality and development and stuff. So like, he specifically is learning a skill that specializes in defeating a minotaur, because he hates minotaurs, you know, and building towards that. And every new move that he learns or a new skill is attached to an experience he has or a progression towards his whole journey, you know? It was really cool. I really liked the idea for sure, and I see where it was backed by plenty of examples. So I genuinely really like this video. My just thing had to do with clip selection. A lot of it felt very random and kind of, I don't know what to put here, so I'm going through that. Holy shit. It is tough making those choices in terms of what the hell do I put here and something that's captivating and so that every moment is that the person's not glossing over or clicking another tab or something like that. That you're keeping them engaged the whole time visually. And I think you were doing that with your avatar, but like clip wise, I thought a lot of the time it felt like just kind of whatever. I also thought you could definitely have used some diagrams. Describe the actual topic you were talking about. You're like, there's 7, they go 1 through 7. And you were kind of, in so describing that, I would have liked a visual rather than just clips that don't really show that sort of thing. Even if you just have the name of the move and stuff and kind of placing it on this diagram and stuff and making those placements and stuff. Stuff like that, I think, would have helped with visualizing it and leading the audience along through your points. Especially for people who hadn't seen Danmachi, or for me, who hasn't seen Danmachi since it aired in 2015. But there's just, yeah, so those are just improvements that could have made it better. But as a standalone video, I thought it was pretty solid. And I'm looking forward to what you make in the future. Maybe on stuff you care more about. Not that you didn't care about this or anything, but like your favorites, you know, like, so make some Mushishi content. You know how many people are making Mushishi content? Almost zilch. Let's get on it. That'll be some good shit. I don't know if you really care that much. I assumed as much if your avatar is based on Gin, but whatever. Good job. Replay value made kind of an AMV of sorts. Claire de Lune, a thematic journey through anime. He describes a lot more in the description, which gives a lot more insight. And I didn't really read the description until watching the whole video, just because I didn't think to. And then I was like, I wonder, because I was starting to get questions in my head. For one, why is there no old anime on this, with the exception of some movies like Laputa or anything like that? And obviously the answer must be that, like, oh, he doesn't want to deal with the 4:3 versus 16:9 sort of thing. And that's fair, but I personally would have been like, all right, well, if I don't want to disturb the whole thing, I would have gotten away. I would have felt like I could have gotten away with stretching the aspect ratio out, like filling the screen up like it. To be honest, there's some anime, like Saint Seiya, for example, that actually look really good in like a full widescreen, like a wide widescreen, like 2x1, or I don't know what the name of that's the I don't know the name of it. But like playing with aspect ratio, not bad. I can get you may have gotten comments of like, you're ruining the sanctity of, but I don't know. If you're able to, if that means that you're able to kind of increase that breadth of shows you can talk about, that would be great. So he's talking about how like in the description, that's where he dumps the whole thing. So he was having a writer's block with his stuff, and he decided to just kind of get something out because he always listens to Claire de Lune, and Claire de Lune's an amazing track. I used it in my hosted video, wink wink. He just kind of visually articulates what the song feels like throughout the movement, and kind of goes through different movements and different phases of it. It's a 6-minute track. He uses only one clip per anime, and uses a different anime every single clip. And every clip is maybe up to 2 seconds or 3 seconds. So already in that idea of like choosing one clip to represent however many shows he does, I think he does something of like 50 or 60 shows, probably more. That's pretty impressive on its own. So I think I give him full props for this idea, and I think it's really cool. I just didn't think it fully captivated me in a way, because I kept thinking of like, why is there no old anime? Or why is it not just the moon? Because like the first 30 seconds, you're like, it's the moon. You're going to do, what does the moon represent to different perspectives, and like, you know, what it's used for as a framing device, or as a this, or as a symbol, and stuff like that. But then you drifted away maybe halfway through. He just stopped using the moon, and I was like, oh. And again, maybe it would have just started being redundant, or you just ran out of options. I don't know. But then it was like, there's sections where he's running, and that was cool. But it's at that point I'm like, all right, what is it? I don't know. And he's like, this is the hardest video I've had to make. And like, yeah, I'm not going to take that away from you. That was pretty good for what you did. I'm just communicating my things like, I didn't quite get that or that part. I'm not going to fully break it down, like little nitty gritty. But this is a cool video. And obviously it's not something anyone makes that often. And so I really liked it. I also liked when you did this for Rain, I believe. You did something kind of similar. For when you did something about Rain, and that was really cool. So I think this is a wheelhouse that's very unique. It's not your main wheelhouse. Your main wheelhouse is like writing and getting all this essays out, but just in video form. And not necessarily, but like you're kind of doing this like visual cool thing and then a writing cool thing, but not necessarily marrying the two. Now, granted, I haven't seen all of your content, but I feel like you're doing content that only works visually, and you can't really interject any writing into it. Like this video, I think it would have been worse if you started talking over it. So I really liked what you did here. And then a lot of your videos where you're just kind of writing, you write your essay on whatever episode, and then it's kind of not playing the episode uncut or anything like that, but you know, it's very, you give yourself a very narrow window of what you're talking about. Sometimes you're talking about a general topic, but like, I don't know, it just always feels like window dressing. So it's tough. I get that it's like kind of tough to try to marry the two. But I think when you figure that out, it's going to be dope. Like you're at that point. Like you're doing these two different things that are both very good. But if you find that middle, oh my God, you're going to be sweet, dude. I think. But what you got here, pretty awesome. And I'm happy you're out of your writer's block. Looking forward to more. Bonsai Pop tricked me. They fucking tricked me, dude. Do you see that thumbnail? Vampire Hunter D, the story you never knew. You know what that's from? Vampire Hunter D, Bloodlust. One of my favorite anime movies. You know what this video is about? The other OVA. The first one from the 80s. Oh, I was like, no, I love that other movie. I wish you talked about that. But why'd you use this thumbnail? Why couldn't you use the from the OVA? So I'm a little clickbaited by it, to be honest. But this was pretty good. For a video talking about the OVA, they didn't shit on it, like at all. In fact, it was the most cohesive, like positive take of this series, of this OVA that I've ever seen. everybody and their mom shits on this thing. And granted, when I watched it, I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's okay. But like even just like the clip selection they use here, the way they talk about it with such respect, and they dug into the novels and they talked about them, and obviously the idea of like The Story You Never Knew is always kind of a baity title. I'm still not a huge fan of it, but it's kind of their flagship idea. But it just gets them to talk really in depth about these things and really, really give them a positive light. I think that's really what The Story You Never Knew is trying to do, is just give it like a very positive spin. And I love my positive shit, dude. Especially on an OVA that, you know, Ben at the Stage shat all over it. Right? This is one of those OVAs. And like a lot of people could interject with it because they're like, yeah, the visuals aren't all that great. What does it mean that he's resisting this urge to give in to his vampire desires and like compared to what the rest of the world is this post-apocalyptic thing where it's the only people left are these overpowered vampires and stuff, and like why does he seek what he seek, like the main bad guy? And I'd never seen anyone talk about it like this positively, to be honest with you. So I really liked this video. It was not all, I will say it wasn't like busting my gut, and every time they kind of make it like a little joke. They're not the funniest people on the internet when they think they're not like in a bad way, but you know, it's like, yeah, it's decent this and that. But I was really happy with the result here. So good on you. Very good on you. Good job. Under the scope. The problem with problematic media. I just realized how like redundant that title is. And it just puts Monogatari. Yeah. So this is a video where you're talking about this is problematic. And it's not so much of what makes Monogatari problematic as it is talking about the idea of problematic media and how it's like how we should treat it, how we should talk about it. And it's far more of a meta video and talking kind of in general about this idea that there's things that can happen in media that we don't agree with, that we just don't find acceptable. And it's talking about them in a way that's, you know, honest and all that. And so a lot of people probably have problems with this video. I have not dug into the comments or general discourse. And obviously I bet Monogatari fans are furious by this because it's like, you know, they want to swear off every decision that the series makes. I kind of get both perspectives. There's plenty of things in like Ashino Joe or whatever where it's like, yeah, that they didn't quite handle that the best way they could have. And it's being able to talk with them while still saying they're your favorite. And it's like, you can say that you didn't like this thing that they did and still be like, I still love this show. Well, although I will say that he's like, you can love and hate your favorite. And I'm like, no. It's like, I love Monogatari, but I also hate it. And it's like, that doesn't help your point, in my opinion. It's like, I feel like you do have to stand by a lot of your favorites' decisions. No, you can voice your discontent with certain opinions. Like, I wish it wasn't like this, but you kind of have to see where they're coming from. Otherwise, it's like, yeah, otherwise, I feel like those are cracks in loving your favorites, and eventually you can fall out of love with them if you let them kind of fester and come to grips with them, I guess. And that's kind of what this video is about, is coming to grips with it, I guess. So my problem with problematic media is just that he didn't talk that much about Monogatari. You know, like the thumbnail and the title implies it's a Monogatari video. The majority of the video is so well edited by Nice Guy. Wow. By the way, sorry to not mention that. It's really good, really well edited. You know, like Monogatari has like this kind of idiosyncratic, like flashy, abstract. It could suddenly go into a different style whenever it wants, kind of deal. I feel like a lot of the choices Nice makes are a little transparent. That you're like, yeah, that was a nice edit. But there's some of the other ones where I'm like, was that from the anime or was that something Nice did? Weaving the idea of a video that's the artifice of a video with the, you know, with the subject you're talking about, to interweave that so seamlessly, pretty much seamlessly, was really great. And he just played to this series' strengths of the experience is like watching Monogatari. And I feel like that would, I hope he continues to make something similar to that, and they can talk about those aesthetics. I think that would be a much more interesting video than this, personally. Because, I mean, my problem really was just that like, Jack didn't really get to the point of what made Monogatari so problematic, like, and kind of really talking about that. I think that would be much more productive. And maybe he was a little squeamish of talking about it with, you know, trying to kick the hornet's nest of these Monogatari fans, because obviously they're not going to be happy, regardless of how you tackle it. So just kick the whole thing. Don't like lightly tap it, because no one appreciates that. Because they still felt the tap, but no one who wanted you to kick it is like, yeah, he fucking went for it. You know, they're like, no one's happy. Everyone disliked that. Not that this is a bad video. I think you make a pretty sound points. I just wish you'd talk more about Monogatari itself, you know? And just like, so is it because the guy's horny? Like the main character's horny? Is that? And he like wants to bone the elementary school girl? Okay. That's kind of gross. I don't like that either. But like, why is that problematic? In your perspective. Like, why isn't it problematic? You can't just say that. Not to the internet. The internet's not going to accept that as an answer, right? Because I said so. Nope. I don't like that, and I can express my discontent. You can express your discomfort with that. But I think that's different than, like, this is problematic. Because it feels like it's a guise. It's like, well, this is problematic. I don't know. But I'm sure you're getting plenty of fucking hate in the comments, so I'm not going to try to dogpile it. I did not think it was a bad video. I thought it was a pretty good video. I'm just expressing, and I'm hoping next time when you talk about Monogatari, it really dives in, you know, not that you haven't already. You've already made some of Monogatari videos that were pretty good, and did go in depth, but like, you know, this wasn't one of them for me. No problem though. Okay. Well, let's talk about this one. Why Do We Need Anime YouTubers 2 by NECRO13. So, the other day, this video drops, and my timeline gets so fucked. Because some of my friends really hated this video. And they more hated how NECRO then released this video with saying that all anime YouTubers are trash. They don't need them. And just, they're all, it's easy to make an anime YouTube video. And obviously everyone's kind of waiting for me to tear them apart, right? But it's in the decent category because the actual points he makes in this video are fine. He's right. We make a lot of unnecessary drama from 2017. We say really dumb shit on Twitter. Yeah, we're people. You know why people make anime YouTube videos? You know why I make them? For fun? Why do you make them? For fun, right? So he starts the video with showing off like the history, kind of making a history of anime YouTubers. And he shows by like showing some early videos from Gigguk and the Anime Man. And I think this is supposed to make us feel that like, oh, they're so cringy or something, because he very specifically chooses Gigguk's review of Bleach. Maybe it was his first video. Cool. But like, obviously nobody who's currently subscribed to him subscribed to that character, subscribed to that Gigguk from a decade ago. So it got me thinking, oh, you know what? Why are you making this video? Let's look more into what NECRO13 does. Who is he? So I looked into his very first video, and it's kind of an update video of like a new channel. So this means that there's some content that he made in the past, and then he's just kind of starting fresh. And I can relate to this. I'm very much like, because I do have a channel. I'm not going to share it. That I have made content, and it wasn't great, so I decided to make a new channel. So in this first video, he says, I'm really excited to bring you this new updated channel where I talk about video games and anime, because there are a couple of passions that I have. He then makes a video on why I absolutely love Symphogear, a Princess Principal review, and talking about Digi's Skip Across Regressions video and kind of like rebuttaling it. And that was his most popular video at the time, or maybe it got more views in hindsight. I can't really tell. And around this time, among other videos, he posts, "I'm not an anime YouTuber." So you make anime videos, but you're not an anime YouTuber. And so he explains himself saying he's a YouTuber, and he shares his opinions and hope others feel the same way. And he's not an anime YouTuber because, and I quote, "I wouldn't class myself as an anime YouTuber. There's people who kind of have that job of reviewing shows and telling you what they think and keeping their audience entertained with their opinions. But unfortunately, I'm not one of those people." And he goes on to say, "Honestly, I don't think I'm all that good. Like, I don't think I'll ever be like the anime man levels of good. I mean, he kind of just bashes you over the head with the joke and just kind of keeps rolling with it. Kind of like how I'm doing right now. Self-aware." And lastly, he just voices discomfort with anyone who advertises for a company like Crunchyroll. He doesn't discourage advertising and plugging a company or anything like that, because he one of the later videos, or in this video or something, he talks about how, I'd be willing to shill for a computer like a virus protection software that I use that I really like. But he just hates Crunchyroll. And he can have that opinion, that's fine. So after that video, he makes In Defense of Dirty Pear Flash and Neo Yokio is awful. And among other things, obviously. And yeah, I guess Neo Yokio isn't an anime, so I guess you're not an anime YouTuber. Yeah, I guess you're right. And then he makes his first video, Why Do We Need Anime YouTubers? And so I think it was pertinent to watch this first video because he calls attention to the fact that it's a sequel in this second video of Anime YouTubers 2. And he says at the beginning, it's about anime YouTubers or anime reviewers, whatever you want to call them. So it's very clearly talking about people who review anime on YouTube and not like anything else. Mentions Chibi, Misty, and Giguk as anime YouTubers, even though Misty mostly got his start doing anime top 10s. He spends 5 minutes reading aloud other people's comments, and he makes this one comment at one point that's like, he mocks one of these comments for like writing a big paragraph or two about their opinions on anime YouTubers, and he's like, what are these guys writing, a short story or something? Even though the screen cap that he reads from only takes up the whole one screen, and he's making a 16-minute video on this. Throughout this whole video, he's kind of referring to his own content as shitty, and he very often has the self-deprecation thing, but not in the same depths, not in the same like going so far as to physically show incompetence like explanation point. He's just, I make bad videos. You know, a lot of people make that comment. He does compliment Super iPad 12 for having an advantage for certain things, and you'll notice on his channel he hasn't. I haven't seen him really dig Super iPad 12 on anything. He doesn't mention him in this newest video, from what I can recall. And speaking of who he doesn't mention, he very barely references Glass Reflection, even though he's pretty much the premier reviewer guy, and he hardly talks about him in either of these videos. He mentions him, but doesn't really give him paint him in a negative light, really. Neither does he talk whatsoever, not one mention, of Demolition D. You know, kind of a premier anime YouTuber at the time. And maybe he doesn't have a problem with him because he doesn't shill for Crunchyroll, but I don't know. It's weird. Here's a quote that I think is going to be impertinent to later. Some claim I make videos just for the views or to have my opinion out there for people so I can get traffic. Well, 1, that's not a bad idea. And 2, isn't that the point of YouTube? To have your channel be noticed? It doesn't matter. So he very clearly cares about views and growth and success. In his channel, he has plenty of videos talking about his updates of like, thanks for 1K, thanks for 9K, thanks for 10K, always referencing how many subscribers he has and mentioning his Patreon that he has. That on the subject of Patreon, because I think he implies in this first video that it's not good that they're making money or, profiting off of this stuff, I guess, because they're stuffed with these advertisements and shills and all that stuff, and he mentions like, well, I ask money for Patreon, but only if you guys deem it to be so. Just kind of like any Patreon ever. And he mentions probably like the rewards are egregious, and I agree. Have you seen exclamation points rewards? Ooh, lad! And, he does double down on this, I'm not an anime YouTuber, because he doesn't want to look like a hypocrite, right? It's like, oh, we don't need anime YouTubers, you don't need me, right? Or, like, all anime YouTubers are shitty. I'm shitty, He doesn't want to kind of have that weird thing. And he insists he's not an anime YouTuber. And he can have that opinion, but that's not going to stop everyone else from seeing his content and thinking, oh, it's an anime YouTuber, click. Right? There's a quote from this Who Needs Anime YouTuber videos where he's like, that anime snob will probably be watching this and pointing out these things in his videos. I'm sure he's watching mine right now, and he's just watching me, watching out to see if I'm slipping. Which, I mean, please don't do that. Practice what you preach. He kind of trails off after that. Snob only watches anime YouTube, only comments on like anime YouTube videos, right? But you're not part of anime YouTube, but you're pretty sure that he's watching your videos. So he does have an overall thesis. Why do we need anime YouTubers in this the first video? They matter for content, conversation, and for knowledge. How they sell that to you is a completely different story. And he's right. I completely agree. It is for content, for conversation, to learn new things, to entertain. And the way they present that to you can be problematic. They can have misinformation. It can have flaws. It can be misguided. It can be shitty. It can be aggravating. It can be terrible. There's so many terrible anime YouTube videos. There's so many terrible anime YouTubers. This is a fact. Just like there's terrible gaming YouTubers. There's terrible anything ever. After that, he makes videos on The Silent Voice and My Brother's Husband, before he stumbles upon his most popular video idea. Is this long video of talking about Aki Dearest's video on why do men like hentai. I've not watched this video, but I assume the worst, because that does not sound good. It probably makes a lot of terrible points. Doesn't sound like a good video. So he spends, the way he formats it, like he does all of these reaction videos, is his avatar rebutting or kind of snarking or talking back every section, like plays out the video, or the video he wants you to see, part of the video he wants you to see, and then comments on that, and kind of shits on it. And to be honest, I'm happy he makes content like this, because not many people are really calling people out on these anime YouTubers out on their bullshit. He has an hour-long stream talking about Jeff's Kiss anime video. This is what really I was like, oh, thank you for making something like this. Bob's Slice of Life video, that was awful. Just rails on Slice of Life for like no reason, and it's just terribly misinformed and just doesn't get it. It's awful. Don't watch it. But he has a rebuttal on that. He talks about the Flying Colors Foundation. Talks about Pedro's terrible Goblin Slayer video. It's stuff like this, right? And this is additive content. Maybe not content that's enjoyable for some people, but a lot of people that have these frustrations, yeah, definitely. He has a State of the Channel update a little while at one point, and he says, but now I've got a lot of work ahead of me, and I have a lot of scripts to write for the big vlogs I have coming out with, and those videos are for the spring season, which will take a lot of time to make, and especially when they focus on subs versus dubs. So maybe he put it on a different channel, or he deleted it at some point, or never ended up making that video, because I don't see it on his channel. Or maybe it's just it's a subject that I just didn't associate with the spring season of 2018, talking about subs versus dubs. But the two key points is, you know, he admits it takes a lot of time to make, and he only has so much time. But they're easy to make. They're definitely easy to make. Time definitely doesn't have a factor to how easy something is. It's just time consuming. That's all. And he was going to make a subs versus dubs video on what? Live action TV? But he's not an anime YouTuber, guys. I swear. He made this Farewell for Now video. I'm just an everyday person on the internet who likes to make videos. Like all of us. High five. We're in the same boat. I'm not an anime YouTuber, and I'm not a part of the commentary community. I just make videos because it's fun. You and me both. But I get that you don't want to be put in a label, because you don't want to be judged for the baggage that it comes with. You comment on other videos, beat for beat, and those are your most popular videos, which you swear by as the monochrome of success. Like, you think that's the point of YouTube, right? So your most popular videos, the ones with 200,000 views, or 100,000 views, is your monochrome of success, is you did a good job. And the ones that have less than 1,000 views, of which there are many, and pretty much all of them are your anime reviews and just talking about anime without talking about another YouTuber, are not successes. My entire existence on YouTube isn't just to talk about the anime man or mother's basement, but it's to find people who are being just disingenuous and spreading misinformation, the same way the inspirations that I have do. But that's not all that I'm here to do. I also like to make videos just for fun. And obviously people take what I say to be the truth or some kind of law, when in all reality it's just my opinion. That's all I do, is give opinions. It's tough when you're calling people out on their misinformation, when what you just said could very easily be said about these anime YouTubers. I also like to make videos just for fun. So do these people. Misinformation and all. Obviously the people take what I say to be the truth, or some kind of law, when in all reality it's just my opinion. Yeah, we all feel that. So in this second video, he outlines all these true things, and doesn't expect you to look into his previous content, and tries to sum himself up in this video. I'm a YouTuber, for fun. I don't really care about the monetary gain that I could possibly get from it. I don't really care about sponsorships all that much, but they're appreciated. Honestly, I just like making videos and having my own community of people to talk to. Ones that can send big anime titties to me, and I can send to them. Those types of things are what keep me going. The constant giving artists the spotlight, which is why I started this channel to begin with. But he's not an anime YouTuber. Straight from the horse's mouth. What I would probably say if you're not an anime YouTuber, or a commentary YouTuber, you seem to be an anime YouTuber. Like this channel, like Shaves, right? I haven't talked about anime really all that much in this channel, so I'm kind of an anime YouTuber too. But if anime YouTube is all shit, what does that make us? Alright, now for the best videos of the week. I loved these videos. I had a great time watching them. First, speak of the fucking devil. I could never be as good as the anime man. Great video. I actually really had fun with this. This is something I do, like, on my spare time. And, like, roasting people's, like, you gave this a 2 out of 10? Or you dropped this show? Or just like, ew, you gave this show a 10 out of 10 or whatever. And it's fun. It's harmless fun. And he's like, don't go after these people. And they sent it to them voluntarily, like, roast my taste. It wasn't like he went onto Mal and found somebody that didn't want to be shown or anything like that. At the beginning of the video, he intentionally goes after Evan and talked about Evan's taste. And at the end, he links his own Mal in the description. And he's like, you can judge my taste. And he was looking through it, and I'm like, yeah, I pretty much still stand by all this, so roast away. You gave Ouran Host Club a 3 out of 10. Fuck you forever. But it's very harmless fun, and he kind of makes it out that way, and I hope he makes more of these videos, because I'll admit he kind of roasts the same show a bunch of times. Like he keeps mentioning Fairy Tail and Erased and Tokyo Ghoul Route A. And it's like, what does it have to do with these shows that like you just keep your eye just gravitates to them all the time? You know, I feel like there's a lot of potential here where it's like, hey, you watch this show? Wow, that's a deep cut. You know what I mean? And just maybe giving that show a booster or something. I think it's really cool. I like this format. I don't know. I like it a lot. Jiffy. How anime affects my mental health. Now, he does say in the video, and he doesn't exactly want this to spread or anything like that. But I got linked this video in your channel by somebody, and it is pretty freaking good, dude. And I just want to give you compliments and praise, so take it, you son of a bitch. This is so fucking personal, dude. Like, I don't want to really talk about any details, really, because I'd be afraid of, like, mischaracterizing them or something. But this is so personal, and he talks about, like, his two favorites is NHK and GTO. And those two are, like, twins, where it's, like, one of them is who he feels he actually is, and one of them is who he really aspires to be. And that connection just, it really resonates with me, where, like, my favorite media, I really, like, I want to strive to be these characters, or who these I actually am these characters, and it sees it. You know, I see myself in them, and it's like, oh, I pity that, and I see myself in it. So I need to readjust to myself, where this is what I want to be like, and how do they go about doing that? You know, and he has a lot of deep cuts at some points. Like surprisingly, there's like a kaiji cut somewhere, and he's just kind of pulling shows that you don't expect, and it doesn't feel like. I think a lot of anime YouTubers do this, where like they start mentioning the 4 shows that they're gonna drop, and then just keep referencing clips from that very small pool. But even down to the last couple of seconds, or maybe I'm misjudging it, but like there was just anime that like you weren't mentioning, they just suddenly pop up. They're like, oh yeah, he watched that show and he relates to this one. Oh, cool. And stuff like that. And it was very surprising and delightful. It wasn't very... I think what is also tough about this is that it could very come off as like self-loathing or like really depressed or just not very fun. But I'm not saying you made it like fun or like goofy or funny or anything like that. I just mean like it was very pleasant and like relatable and methodical and excellent. So I really liked this video. I'm not gonna be like, make more please like this, because that was it. But I'm looking forward to more content, because your reason for starting YouTube was very similar to what mine is, of just like there's other people doing it and it's an outlet and it's something, it's a creative endeavor, and it's something cool. So like I relate to you a lot in that way. And it was just really great hearing your perspective. And now when you talk about something you care about, I feel like now there's going to be like this personal, like this connection of like, oh, this is part of his narrative and stuff. Shout outs Hiding in Public too, and being a huge influence. And that's great that Hiding is starting to have that influence of like other people starting to open up about their personal experiences with media. It's awesome. Oh, of course, Marion Bea comes out with a fucking Cypher video, and you bet your ass I'm talking about it. Oh, yes! Yeah, I was worried I would have to be the one to make a Cypher video in terms of like in terms of spinning it as like a positive thing, because it's so easy to shit on. And I think Kenny kind of made that like goofy haha in this weird kind of video about Cypher, and then you made the Cypher's fucking cool, here's why kind of video, and put so much effort into the research and like the visual parallels, and like actually like, yeah, like very literally making the connection that she's writing a manga about twins and she uses the Thompson twins. Like, I didn't even make that connection. I'm an idiot. You just have so much passion and joy out of the stuff that you have, and like embracing all of the silliness and the weird, the one react, like I still love what you do with reaction faces. That it kind of reminds me of Demo, but it's just so much more like selective and tasteful. You have this one moment where you briefly mention over the the two of them kissing, and it's actually not that big of a deal if you read the manga. It's that's a thing that they do, but in the anime it made it seem that that was the culmination of like, oh, that's the thing, they're gay, you know, or they're incestual. But you just kind of gloss over it as like, that was weird. And you have the Winnie the Pooh face, like that face. Oh my god, you just have such great choices for reaction imagery and selectiveness. I just don't have that. I wish I had that because it's so me. Man, and I noticed you did a lot better with like labeling certain things and like what certain things are from, so I'd be able to look them up later. And it was just such a joy. I had a smile on my face the entire time, and awesome. I see that you're watching Attack Number 1 right now. And God, and you posted a video of a clip of it, and I'm like, yes, please make a video on that, on Attack Number 1, I think. But if you're up to it, I don't know. I would like one, please. And lastly, best video of the week. I'm in it! Every anime in 1989 reviewed Summer by Core Reviews. And also featuring Man Mode. So I did group watch this, and I did contribute a hefty amount. I think, well, a third, I guess, if you technically count. Well, I didn't have a third of the load, because I think Core had overall more entries than the three of us, than the other two of us. But let me just talk about them individually and not really myself, because obviously I did a great job. Jesus Christ. I love Core's approach to talking about media he doesn't like, because it's always very honed in, specific, and not antagonistic. Like, it's just like, this is dumb, you know? Or just like, why did it do that? And it's like very honest, like, come on, man. Like the ninja, there's one OVA about like ninjas, and it's like, this is not even ninjas, like, come on. And it's not like vitriolic at all, and doesn't really like discourage you from checking it out. It's more like, yeah, didn't do it for me. You know, and it's just so relaxing, and like it's refreshing in otherwise a widely accepted trope of hating on the bad media. You know what I mean? And Core in particular, out of the three, I was very much the most uninventive of the three of us in terms of like doing different shit and things you wouldn't expect an anime YouTuber to do in any sense of the word. He did admit to me where he got the parallel, the inspiration from, but this one moment of like, he's praising this one part of the OST of one of the OVAs he's talking about, and he's like, at least I got some banger tunes. But like for a good chunk of it, he's just dancing in the corner. It's just like a clip of him dancing, and in different, like he has the camera placed in different areas, and it's just dancing to it. And it's just so like unapologetic and like and authentic. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, he really feels that, and he's not afraid to put that in a public video like this. Like a lot of us have egos, and like, oh, that wouldn't work for me. And just the unabashed, like, putting yourself out there is just so inspiring to me. And, I think a lot of the, Core's second channel, as well as like others, was kind of the reasons why I felt okay to do something like this. I felt warranted, like, oh, people don't expect the high polish from me. I can do this. So I appreciate that a lot. And he has this one the clip of him sleeping, but it has like a dream sequence of like MS Paint, and he's just moving the thing over, and he can animate. Like, I've seen it. Like, his animations are pretty interesting. But he just does the thing in the MS Paint. It's intentionally like going this route of like, oh, I'm only gonna put this much effort in it, whatever. But like, it just makes it more funnier that way, and it just, that sharpness is awesome. And I really liked how he plugged Gozazu Bonsai. I butchered that completely. The Oshi thing, the Oshi OVA from like the 80s. It's on the thumbnail. I loved how he talked about it without giving anything specific away, and just kind of talking about it aesthetically, but then got a lot of his point across through conclusion OVA, like closed the whole video out with this as with an OVA, with an AMV. I am stupid! He had this AMV with the OP attached to it, and I love that shit. Oh my god. And the OP is really like a banger. And he sent it to us before the whole video came out, and I was like, yeah, this is fucking hot. This is good shit, dude. Wow. And it's popping and clean and my kind of AMV, man. That's my shit. And obviously I have to give him all the credit in the world for coming up with this idea and allowing me and Manmo to share in this wonderful idea. And I'm hoping more people can help him with the fall, because there's so many anime came out that season. It's just too much. And I want this out by December. I want this to be out by the end of the year. That only makes sense. It only makes sense. But we were talking about it as a group, as a trio, of like how much better this is than like the Anitube anthology. And I think there's advantages and disadvantages upon reflecting on it. So there's a lot that would go into a project like Anitube Anthology with so many different media, and making sure all of it is appropriately covered by someone and that everyone is satisfied, with nice orchestrating everything and then hyping up the promotional aspect to it, and all of that is admirable. And I really like the showmanship and the kind of the special feeling it gets, that sort of thing. I just love I just love it. And I love being a part of them, for sure. It's been a very ergonomic experience, and being in a group chat with a bunch of these other anime YouTubers was a really invigorating experience for me, especially when he first reached out to me. I had never had a group of that size of some of these people to talk to, and it was really refreshing. But Coors is just really down to earth, a neat thing we're doing, and it was a complete mixed bag of like, we just have to cover all this stuff, and we were able to choose like, oh, I want that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and it was like even, and if there was we didn't have any disagreements of like what we would cover, what we didn't, and it was all great. And I think it shows that like, it can be done. It doesn't have to be this production. As much as I like the production of Anitube Anthology, it doesn't have to be this whole big thing. And I would like it to be kind of an encouragement to have more collabs. I know Isla and Beyond Ghibli is collabing on something. Obviously, the collaboration of Nice and Under the Scope is a really great duo. I don't know why Pedantic Romantic and Zeria haven't really collabed on a video so hard yet. They may have somewhere, or Pedro does like, Lachlan does like some side stuff for Zeria, or Zeria does back and forth, but like, that's a duo, man. But that's just so cool, right? Like, you just complimenting each other, or just putting stuff together into one extravagant experience. I think that videos like this show that it can be done, right? Yeah, I've kept him long enough to suspense. Let's talk about Man Mode's section here. I'm in fucking shock when I watched it, because he goes the opposite approach with basically completely shitting on this fucking OVA. He has this uncanny ability to say something completely outrageous and offensive, and in any other context would be like, oh, what the fuck? Just shock humor. But at the same, but then like handle it in such a way that like, he's kidding, and that it's a bit, and that's, or maybe it's not, or just it just straddles that line where he's not too obvious about it, where it's like, oh my god, does he really think that about women? And I was just, my jaw was on the floor watching his shit, his section here. The first bit in particular, it just, what? What? And he described to us, as he was making it, having to put little hearts on the tits of every single woman in the Legend of Lemnir OVA that he made an AMV for. He's like, this is not good. I'm just going to make a cool AMV out of it, and we're all going to have a good time. And it's so transparent of like okay. I just get on a fucking ride, dude. He's on another plane of existence. It's incredible. And he's in that stage of like best guy ever, I think, where he's kind of where best guy ever was a couple years ago, where he just wouldn't put out content, but when he did, oh my god, it's absolutely insane. But he motion tracked every like little things. I'm like, you're gonna get hit with like YouTube copyright, like adult content. Someone's gonna see that. It's like, that's obvious. It's not actual censorship. Like, it's barely censorship, but it kind of is. But he's taking like days to motion tween them. Like, are you kidding me? I would never. Oh my god. But it just makes it all the more impressive. And Jesus Christ, dude. I really liked his coverage of Bao, where it's like, look, these two, you can look at them side by side and be like, this is pretty indistinguishable. They all look like shitty, schlocky 80s OVAs. But no, this is some good shit. And this is not. But, it doesn't dwell on that other shit, because he talked about it already. But, like, he's like, no. This is insanely good. And, like, he's so good at talking about praise. I wouldn't say there's much of a weakness in his talking about bad stuff, because it always comes off as, like, this is what I see and this is what I don't value. And what I don't see that as good. And not a matter of objective, terrible, it's bad, don't watch it kind of thing. He just doesn't have that vibe, And I'm just building up to probably the most brilliant part of this entire video, like all three of us, that I'm just like, oh, that's so good. Just the contrast and flipping the script from the beginning, where he talks about the shitty OVA and like him hating it and making these really vile comments about women, or just really bad, tasteless jokes. To then he's like, look, in reality, it's cathartic for me. And he just completely transparent, opens my eyes to like, oh, this is why people talk shitty about these things. It's just cathartic for them. It's just fun for them. And he's like, but I can open up. I can be a softie. And he just gives this glowing praise of Kiki's delivery service, which is just so in contrast to like every other thing he talked about, because it's like the only thing with like major name recognition, and like the only one that like isn't like a OVA kind of grotesque whatever, or some random schlock. And it's just completely effortless. And best praise for Kiki's I've ever seen. Like, people love this movie, and I've seen a couple of videos about Kiki. I think Kiki's fine. I don't have any, positive or negative feeling. Yeah, it was just kind of fine for me. But I've never seen it this well praised and this well executed praised. For some reason, I feel like he used clips that no other Kiki video uses. Like, this clip selection is so precise, and giving you like, yeah, me watching this moment, this is what you can tell he loved watching that scene in particular, and not like the general plot, like the clip everyone knows kind of deal. Like, I don't think he showed anything of like the bike riding or the blimp or any of the standard, like what people usually get, the clips people usually use. There's just something about like the clips that he used where it's just like, yeah, you get it, and the fact that he was able to flip that, like, no, I actually love this shit, and that means the world to me, man. And it just overwhelms me with like, yeah, yep, sick, absolutely fucking good. Best video of the week, not because I'm in it. Straight up. I should probably mention I made a video too, separate from this. It's called GOTS, The Sound of Berserk, which currently is doing quite well. Thank you very much for watching that video. I had a lot of fun making that video, and if you want to see how I made it, you can be a patron of mine and see that behind the scenes video. I kind of talk in depth about it, even while I'm in the middle of making it. Like, I filmed the first half of it with like not even knowing I was gonna add that extra bit at the end, stuff like that. And it's like, ooh, interesting. I don't know. I think it's cool. But yeah, there's me talking about my video in the digest. There you go. Hope you enjoyed. Sponsored by Gatorade. Hey, check out Complementary, the app that my friend made. It's a game. It's $1, but some of the proceeds goes to a good cause. Just do it, man. I think it's cool. Anyway, you guys have a good week. Yo, peace.